Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DirtTrackDigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your host, Chris Marquardt.
Little late on the pickup there. Sorry about that. I had headset go bad just as we were getting ready to get started. But Jared Zimbardi joining us here tonight on episode number 201 for the 31st lap. Thanks for all the support last week. Had a lot of cool wishes and thoughts with all the guys that were on the show, and excited to be back here for episode number 201. Programming note regarding next week: we will not be on the air next week. Going to be taking next week off. I'll be down with the family in South Carolina, so we won't be on the air. Quick recap before we get going of the activities from last weekend. As we alluded to, we're going to be talking a little bit about Outlaw Speedway here. Joe Gian, one of the modified feature, didn't do too bad for himself either. Had to hold off Billy Van Pelt, and also had a trunk full of Brady Fultz. At one point, Tyler Seary, Dana Johnson coming up with top fives. Jared Zimbardi, he did an awesome job in the Patriot Sprint Tour. It was his fifth of the last 12 360 sprint car races at Outlaw. He started on the front row and just checked out from everybody. Stacey Jackson took home the Sportsman division and dedicated the win to his father, Steve, who passed away on Father's Day weekend. Zach Ziegenhagen was out in front early on. Stacey Jackson picked him off on lap number 12 and rolled away from them. Brian Knowles, he won the Crate Late Model feature. Rich Kalinowski came away with the win in the IMCA Modifieds. James Creedler, and has now won in three different divisions at Outlaw Speedway. He pulled down the win in the Street Stock division earlier this year. He won a four-cylinder feature. Not too bad for him. Behind him, Nate Daggett, he was dogging him hard to come up with that win, but it did not pan out for him. James coming away with the win. Ray Heyer went from 22nd to win in the four-cylinder division. Cody Baker had an awesome run, coming with second place with cars DQ'd in post-race tech. Austin Labar won his third straight youth division feature. Amy Catalano won the modified feature at Spencer Speedway. Tommy was her son. She was second, and not too bad there. It was her first win. It was her eighth win since her first one came in July 2009. Mike Hyman kept his winning streak alive. He won in the four-cylinder division. He's won three times in three starts, which isn't bad over there. Jarrett Shank came with the win in the Super 6 feature. The Wills family did all right over at Ransomville. Kenny and Kevin winning the modified and sportsman division features, respectively. Tim Sears Jr. got his win over Brewerton Speedway. We chatted a little bit with him. Congratulations are in order to that family celebrating a weekend here, or a wedding this weekend. Good for him. He went flag to flag in a shootout. Ryan Phelps and Larry White were both right on top of him Saturday. Larry White rallied from that run at Brewerton and came up with a win at Fulton Speedway. It's a four-car battle. There was four lead changes in the last two laps, something crazy like that. Max McLaughlin was in the mix. Finally, as the laps clicked down, Larry White won by about a half second over Chuck Bauer. Tim Fuller found victory lane at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. Carl Comfort got a win in the sportsman division. It was his 22nd ever, and that ends a dry spell dating back to August of 2014. So good to see him back in victory lane. Eric Carlson won the 305 feature. Lee Sanders won last week, and he was second place in the 305s. Rick Crago won the street stock, pure stock combined feature. Jason Doty led early. He was second. Mike Welch was the top street stock car. At Utica Rome, Pat Ward won the modified feature. He was outside the front row and ran the outside line early and carried that all the way to the lead. Larry White was on his back bumper but couldn't do anything with him. Rocky Warner came away with the sportsman division feature at Utica Rome. So without any further ado, Jared Zimbardi joining us here on the hotline to talk a little bit about his run over at Outlaw and what makes him so good over there. Jared, man, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Glad you're able to make it work here. Tell us a little bit about that run over there at Outlaw, man. It looked like the car was pretty much on rails, and you didn't have to do much other than just point it to victory lane.
Yeah, we've kind of gone back to doing some of the old stuff. It's funny how you'll try something a little bit different and see how it goes, and then we've kind of went back to a similar setup that we we've used in 2014 when we had a lot of success there too. And just real comfortable with the car right now. Tony DeFonso, he's got it, locked down pretty good. Just a real good baseline. We kind of use that same stuff everywhere we go, and it's worked out. But Outlaw was definitely a good run. We had starting on the front row is always a big help. A little bit rougher there than normal, which is okay with me. Sometimes we get into those rough tracks, but they did go out and grade it and did a nice job to make it a little bit better. I wish I could say some of my colleagues there, had some trouble. There's quite a few cautions at that race, but you'll have that from time to time.
When you go there, do you set your car up for the short run, or do you set it up for a long run? I mean, when you're sitting out there out in front, you're not necessarily looking all over the track to find the faster groove. When you get those restarts, if somebody hit on something, it puts them right back on your back bumper instead of them having to make up the ground.
Yeah, for me, I think I've got Black Rock figured out. I really like the bottom of 1 and 2. I always seem to get a real good run, but the key is to get in good to 1. And a lot of guys have trouble. They'll miss it and they'll skate up a little bit. Where just our car setup allows me we keep it free enough to rotate in, and it gets over on the right when it needs to in the middle of the turn, and gets a good drive off. And then on the other side, I've been able to run in on the top too. So toward the end there, I made a little bit of an adjustment. I was under the red flag. Talked to to Tony there, and he said, try coming in a little bit higher above some of the bumps. And I said, well, I'll give it a shot, and kind of come up around the top, and I got real good run off of turn 2, which surprised me because the track was dry most of the night. And then 3 and 4 just kind of top or bottom. It's just, and that's the key. That you got to be able to go anywhere on the track and be good, and that seems to be what we've got figured out so far at that place.
So, with the frequent restarts, was there any concerns about anybody coming from behind you? How about in terms of your preference? Do you like it when it goes extended green flags, or do you like it when you have the constant resets because it gives you a chance to kind of look at the track and see who's around you and gauge what you're doing?
Well, something I've tended to do was if we get going good, and you use your hearing a little bit. If I hear somebody close,
right?
You do tend to know, okay, well they're right there. And then occasionally when I get into 1, I'll very quickly tilt my head to the left, and just using your peripheral vision, you can kind of see, if somebody's there or not. And that's a big help, because a lot, that's something I've just recently started doing in the last couple of years. And, I actually learned that picked up on that when Craig Keel was racing. We were at a race in Weed Sport, and this was back when you would be in the inside where you pitted in the infield.
Right.
And I'd be watching Craig. He was leading the feature, and I'd noticed he had a white helmet, so it was really clear as to what he was doing. And he'd turn his head and look to kind of just see where everybody was at. And that's something I just kind of remembered and started doing a little bit. But as far as concerns go, Parker Evans, I know he was running in second, and under that red, Tony told me that he was getting a little bit better run through 1 and 2 because he was going up above some of the rough stuff. One side he was able to get and feel the car real good up higher. I thought somebody would have to be pretty good to get by me. So, just kind of conserved the tires a little bit. I typically go about, if I'm leading, you don't want to go 100% because that's when you make mistakes. So I kind of tend to tone back a little bit, be about maybe 80, 85%, And, if I start hearing somebody, you still got that 15% in reserve to say, okay, I got to get going, or
sure,
I could lose this thing.
Is Outlaw one of your favorite tracks? I mean, with the number of times you've been in Victory Lane there, it's got to rank up there.
Yeah, I really don't mind going there. I think actually it's tied. I've got a total, I think, of 6 wins at Outlaw and 6 wins at Oswego Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely in the top 2.
Similar setups at both tracks?
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
We're, it's kind of a setup for 3/8 mile tracks, wide, not so much of a paperclip. So, and both tracks are, I mean, I would say Oswego's a little bit faster because it is a little bit wider and probably a little bit longer straightaways, but they're both very similar. So, we try to keep it simple. Both setups, or both the same setup works at both tracks.
Now, you said that you changed some stuff at Outlaw in years past and went back to the old notebook. Was it a case where you had just outthought yourself? Did it become a mental game and overthunk the car and just went back to something that was more simple?
Well, we wanted to. A lot of guys were starting to get off of the gas shocks, and we were kind of struggling, and still, I tend to have a difficulty on slick half-mile tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't seem to get a balanced car. Some guys that are real good. Steve Poirier, he's probably one of the best on half-mile slick tracks. Jason Barney, Chuck Eving, and there's a handful of other guys that they're real good and on keeping a good momentum. So we wanted to try and get better at that. So we thought, well, let's start playing around a little bit with the left rear shock. So we run a gas shock, a Penske on the left rear, and 3 oil shocks around. So what we wanted to try and do was get our left rear to get more like an oil shock, which we were told from our shock guys and a bunch of other people we talked to that helps on a slick track. So we started to do that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some success, and we kept ticking away at it, but then we kind of plateaued, and we just, like last year we won 5 features all year. Well, this year we kind of went back to what we were doing before, just because, we thought maybe we were just outthinking ourselves. I mean, and that could be true because we're already at 5 feature wins this year so far. But you're always trying to learn how to get better in each track. Like one thing I'd never thought would happen. We won at Woodhall the weekend before.
Mm-hmm.
I've always struggled at that track.
And that's a paperclip.
What's that?
And that's a paperclip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Real small paperclip, high bank. When you get there, it looks like you can just fly around the thing, but it's more of a stop and go track, and that's another one of those places that we were struggling at. We kind of needed the wing speed with our suspension package to get the car to work, and so we did try some different things again with that left rear shock and a few other things that we had never done before, and ended up getting the win at Woodhall. I mean, I was so surprised. I was actually leading the thing, and I couldn't believe I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there,
Right.
So I definitely surprised myself and probably everybody in the stands there that, because I didn't always like going to Woodhall because we struggled, but now I don't mind going there so much.
It's got to be rewarding to come away from a track like that that you're not, in your head, you're not going to do well at. You come away with a win like that, that's got to do some great things for your confidence too.
Yeah. I mean, even Chuck Heaving and Justin Barger, they're extremely good at Woodhall, and to be able to beat them is, yeah, it's a big confidence booster, and it makes us think, well, maybe we actually know what we're doing. But yeah, it's just working at it. It's just taken a long time to figure that place out, but that's what made it very rewarding, is that you work at it so hard and for so long, and then when it finally happens, it does make the all that hard work pay off.
When you finally break through with that win there, I think that was win number 4 for the year, and then Outlaw was win number 5, if I'm doing the math on that correctly.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, that's got to be a huge points night too, coming away not just with a win at the track that you're supposed to do well at, like Outlaw, but doing well at a track that you're figuring that you may not perform quite up to what your standards might be. So, I mean, do you look at the points and stuff like that at this point? You're leading the points rack for the Patriot Sprint Tour.
Yeah, we do. And, yeah, it is funny that you mentioned that. Actually, when I went to Woodhall, the expectations are a lot lower. And it's actually it's a lot more enjoyable for me, because just, we don't care what happens as long as we bring it back on the trailer. We can put it back in the trailer, and a top 5 is a win for us. So, and there's no pressure there. But yeah, when we do go to places like Oshwegan and Black Rock, there's a little bit of pressure there, because everybody's, expecting, to win, because you've always done so good. So, I try not to let it bother me, but you do feel it, and, it does. I don't want to say it's unenjoyable, but, it definitely is different. That win at Woodhall felt different than that 6th win there at Outlaw. But and then the points. We do look at the points this year. We didn't plan on running the full series. We had been doing more Force 10 stuff, and just the way it worked out with the rainouts, the All-Stars rained out down to Mercer, rained out at a couple other places, and then even the Patriots rained out. So we kind of reorganized the schedule as to where what we could do, and we realized, well, hey, we could still run for the Patriot points. It's not too late. We haven't, one thing that I am going to miss, though, that I was looking forward to, was the All-Stars were going to be at Erie Speedway, and the Patriots were at Ransomville. I was looking forward to trying and running with the All-Stars at Erie's, but I think we're going to continue running the points, and so we will be at Ransomville. I think that's in maybe a few weeks or so.
Yeah. Is the 410 stuff, are you enjoying that? Is it as much fun as the 360 stuff running around our area?
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy the 410 stuff. Not only is it's kind of a new experience, and it is tough, and it is, we've done well in the 360s, and so you go from that to you're racing against Dale Blaney and Tim Schaefer and all those guys, and it's completely different. It's 10 times tougher, and that's. But to be honest, I think that's what in 2014 I consider that kind of our breakout year. Mm-hmm. That's when we started running 410s, and I think it kind of changed the way I was driving a little bit, because when you're racing against that kind of competition, it makes you better.
Absolutely.
And so when you come back to step down to the 360s, you're still used to being that cutthroat, all out mode, and then you're just not. It's just not as fast. So still very competitive, though. I mean, it's really tough. All the guys, there's extremely good competitors in the Northeast in the 360s, but that 410 stuff is definitely a different league.
So is it almost like you've got when you're running the 410s against the competition in the 410 cars, you have to be ultra focused. You have to be ultra consistent. You have to be totally focused every lap, every inch. If you miss your mark, you miss a lot more than just your mark. Does that translate to almost feeling like you have more margin for error and more, almost more reaction time in the 360 because maybe things do happen a little bit slower than what you've become accustomed to running the 410?
Oh yeah, for sure. Everything happens twice as quick in a 410, and if you miss your mark or anything, somebody's probably going to go by you. Or if they miss their mark, you'll come right up on them immediately. So, yeah, there's a big difference there, and I don't know. It's somewhat hard to explain, but just the speed, the way the car reacts, and they are a little bit different. I know, you do drive them differently because with the 360, if you have a good setup, you can pretty much stay in the throttle most of the time, or 3/4 throttle through the corners and then full throttle down the straightaways, but you're never really out of it, where you can't really do that in the 410. At least I can't. There's Shots and Blaney and all those guys, they must be able to do that, but I can't do that in the 410 yet. We're still learning. The setups are somewhat different. You've just got so much more power. The weight, you're 100 and some pounds lighter. But yeah, I do definitely feel like, and even Mike Emhoff told my dad this, that after running that 410, he looks like a completely different driver, and it gets you on your game a lot, increases your I guess your skill set and your awareness of everything and what's going on, and your focus. And it definitely ramps you up.
So what you were talking about the 410 stuff. Now you're talking a little bit about following the whole Patriot Sprint Tour. When you started the season, how many races were you looking at doing? It sounds like you were going to be pretty busy.
Yeah. There was going to be. I want to say we were going to be pushing close to 35, 40 races.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a lot for a guy that still has a full-time job.
Sure.
And especially the travel. I know there's some weekly guys there's some guys that can run 2 or 3 nights a week in a crate late model, which that's up around 40 some races. But when you actually travel, 4 or 5 hours to some of these places, it does start to grind on you. But Mike, Mike Emhoff did a great job with the Patriot schedule this year. He's got a real nice schedule, a good paying points fund, and a lot of the races were good paying races, especially these next couple weeks here. We've got Raceway 7 and State Line, 2,000 to win, and then over the 4th of July, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but 3 races, 4,000 to win, and he threw in an extra 3,000 if anybody can win all 3. So there's $15,000 4th of July weekend up for grabs, and I'm hoping to get a good piece of that.
That's not too bad. Are you gonna do any of the Central New York Speed Week stuff?
We've done that before. As far as with the Empire Super Sprints, I think in 2013 we did.
Yeah.
And that's a nice deal too, especially for guys that are located in Central New York. They don't have to travel very far and hit 5 races.
Right.
But
you're coming a long way in to do it. I just wondered if you were going to catch them during the week.
No, we probably. No. We're thinking about it, but it is quite a bit of racing still, and to throw something into the mix. My brother-in-law, Kyle Drum, we decided to put a spare car or get the spare car down. He had some bad luck at the beginning of the year and hurt an engine, the only engine he had. So he's going to be in my backup car for the next 5 races. They're
nice
for the next 2 weeks.
That'll be good.
Yeah, we'll be busy.
So has the schedule then, you're looking at being around 40 races with shuffling the schedule around a little bit. Is that number still the same, or did you end up adding races given that you're now following the 360 PST Tour the whole time?
I'd say, yeah, it's probably, we've taken a couple off because there was a weekend, I think the All-Stars were going to do, I think it was that Erie's, the All-Stars were going to be at Erie's, then Pittsburgh, and then I think Tri-City. So I think we may just do Ransomville, kind of catch our breath after that. We might go down to Pittsburgh because I would like to experience that track. I've heard it's been sold, so it may not be there next year. So which is sad, but I do want to possibly go down there just to say I've raced the place before, if it gets sold or whatever. But and then Tri-City as well. So I don't know. It depends on how this weekend goes. If we have a really good weekend this weekend and next weekend, can make a little money, which is normally unheard of in racing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But if we can do that, we might try to go down there. And but yeah, we're still going to be up there pushing 40 races for the year. That's
a lot. And then, how's work with all that? I mean, they're pretty understanding?
Yeah. Well, when I took the job, I told them that I would only take the job if I could still race whenever I wanted to, and they agreed to that. And actually, Brent Porter, he's president of the company I work for. He actually owns they were in a crate modified. I think Gary Lindbergh, he's actually the car owner for Gary there, who races up to Merrittville. So he's a race fan himself. You can sometimes catch him there at the races, and so it helped having him having a background with it and understanding that it's just something we do on the weekends. So that definitely helped, and he's been very what's the word? Very
seems like he's been pretty accommodating for you.
Yeah, just real supportive. That's the word I'm looking for. Just
That's awesome.
Real supportive with me and my racing.
And is the goal to get out of 360s and to run 410s full time? You said my goal? Is that the goal? Is that what you're trying to get to? Is where you're spending all your time in a 410?
Well, no, I guess the goal's never been to full-time get into 410 stuff. If the opportunity ever came along, I would consider it. Mm-hmm. But we're just dabbling into it a little bit. It can get very expensive real quick, especially with engines, and the competition is so tough that, they do pay a good chunk of money to especially with the Outlaws, it's $800 just to, normally just to take the green, and I think $500 with the All-Stars. But to get up into that money, it's you got to beat some guys that are, that's how they put food on the table. So they're racing for a living. So where me, I'm out there, I'm having a good time doing it. We're serious about it, but by no means am I racing for a living. But we'd like to do a little more 410 stuff. We want to get better at it. So we're trying to do a little bit more, but again, the travel, just with the Patriots and ESS, with the shows that are local, it makes it so convenient to be able to race within 2-3 hours. That's pretty nice, where the All-Stars, you're talking about going all the way out to, Ohio, and you've got normally around a 5 or 6 hour tow. So right. The travel is a big thing, and then, hotel fees and all that. So, just the expense, you definitely get into a lot higher expense when you get up into that higher caliber racing.
I can only imagine. It seems like the farther out you have to travel, the more competitive the series is. The bigger the footprint the schedule covers, the more challenging it is to perform well. And we've said it a million times, is there's no replacement for seat time. I mean, you can talk about it, you can spend money, but it's not going to buy you the talent, buy all the high end parts. But if you don't have the time to learn how to drive it the right way, then all you did was just spend a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can, and we've seen that happen to some teams that, they just spend crazy money and then they go broke in a couple of years, and it's like, just take your time, get some seat time, get laps, and before you know it, you're going to be getting experience and start finishing toward the front, and then you'll find yourself. But yeah, a good example was we ran the Outlaw race there at Weedsport, and we went out to time trial, and I think I didn't have that great of a lap. The track had a real big heavy cushion in 3 and 4. I mean, a good curve, probably 6 inches or so. And, I got up on there on it, and I thought, I thought I had a pretty good lap, but we missed the inversion. So I was one of the first cars out, so I go up to watch the rest of the time trials, and Shane Stewart comes walking up, and I know Shane from some racing that we did when he was with Scott McLaren. Mm-hmm. We went up to Canada and pitted next to each other, and BS for those few nights up there. But he says this was after time trials, and they graded the track off a little bit. The heat races were just about getting ready to go out, and he's like, "Oh, the track looks pretty nice now." And he said, "Yeah, they kind of smoothed it out a little bit, not such a big curve." And he said, "Yeah, I bent the Jacobs ladder, dented the tank, and blew the right side right side body panels all in on the car on time trial." And I said to him, "Geez, I guess I should have drove a little harder." But that's the kind of aggressiveness that you have to have. Right. And those guys, you do it long enough, and you get like that. That's how. But yeah, thought that was just funny that I thought I had a good lap, and here he is just doing the time trialing, and the equipment's about. He's right at the edge with his equipment. It's pretty amazing, really.
You sound like you're still a fan of the sport. You know what I mean? Sometimes we come across drivers who they become almost jaded, especially some of those guys that have been doing it for forever, or been doing it for a living. They get to a point where they know that this is how they're putting food on the table, to use your words, and they forget that they loved it at some point. And man, you can hear that when you talk about the 410s and you talk about running the 360s and you're talking about the tracks. Sounds like you're still pretty in love with the sport.
Oh yeah, and I think I started in 2002, so I mean we're coming up. What is that? 12? Oh, geez, how many years is that?
14.
15. Yeah, 14 years doing it. My dad started in '98, so we've been doing it a long time, and it has worn on me a little bit, but that's just more of the day-to-day maintenance stuff, mm-hmm. But when you we've got good people that help us out. My brother-in-law, Trey Murphy, a buddy of mine, Justin Sills, they make it fun. So we get to the racetrack, and sometimes, you're not even, you're just joking around and stuff, and it does make that part fun of it. But then even, speed weeks, we've been texting each other, that, we see the speed weeks, what happened with this, and then somebody would text, "Oh, did you see what Greg Hodnett said to Danny Dietrich?" And it's there's all this drama going on, and we get excited about it. So yeah, I'm definitely still in love with the sport. There's nothing else like it, and all the guys in it. I was very excited when I heard Lance Deweese was going to be in Donnie Kreitz's car. I thought, man, they're going to win some races. That way Greg Hodnett's not winning everything. And it's cool. And then even the 360 stuff, it is cool. It's definitely, I don't know. It teaches you a lot of lessons about life and just with the highs and the lows of everything, and even the technology with my job. There's a lot of things that, I work on machinery, that's pretty high tech. Well, that's a lot of that same technology I've learned off of my race car, and how to apply that in the world. So, there's a lot of benefits to it, and but we mostly, we do it for fun because it's definitely fun.
You made mention of your dad. You mentioned your crew chief, and you mentioned the folks at work that have been real supportive of it. Anybody else that wanted to make mention of that helped keep that car out there week after week?
Yeah, my wife does a lot. She actually, there's not too many wives out there that will actually come over, the next day to the shop and help me wash the car and vacuum out the trailer and basically clean a bunch of things and wash the race suit. And she's been very supportive, and which I married her for that reason. She come from a racing family, and we actually met at the races. So,
oh wow,
it's kind of So, and then obviously my parents, my mom and dad, have always it's always been a family thing for us, and it does keep us close. It's something that we all go to. If we weren't doing that, we don't know what we'd be doing. Everybody'd be doing their own thing,
right?
And then a sponsor that's been with me for, since 2007, Judd Beatty with Bundle of Warmth. They make the packaged firewood and kindling, Southern Tier Forest products right there in Salamanca. He's been with us for a long time, and I can't thank him enough for all the support through the years that he's given us.
That's awesome. It's good to have a sponsor that's been with you, man. That's a long relationship right there.
Yeah, it's tough to find guys like that, and that's what it is. It's not just, we're not trying to sell him advertising, and it does work out because there are a lot of campers, and we bring you usually get a couple pallets from them that we'll take and hand out some free firewood to all the campers when we go to the races.
Right.
Just say, hey, thanks for being here. And, but yeah, those guys it is more of a relationship with him. And, those people are real hard to find these days.
That's excellent. www.Patriot Sprint Tour if you want to learn more about where you can see Jared Zimbardi running. Coming up here soon, we've got Raceway 7 tomorrow night, part of the Bonnell Collision Center's series of 5 races that they've got planned. After Raceway 7, they go to State Line Speedway. Then next weekend, we're Friday night, July the 1st is at Little Valley, July the 2nd, Mercer Raceway Park, and Sunday, July the 3rd is Erie Res Speedway. 5 races right there, and then you swing up into Canada July 16th and 17th at Rockville and Cornwall. So going to be a busy couple weeks here coming up, but certainly tracks that are ones that you could find some success at, man.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. So I appreciate you having me, and it was nice talking to you.
Definitely. I wish you the best. Keep in touch, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
We'll see you later. There goes Jared Zimbardi, winning at Outlaw Speedway, winning at Woodhall Raceway here a couple weeks back. So good runs for him, and he's got a busy schedule coming up. Fun talking with him. I think we've covered our results. We had our conversation with Jared, and we're sitting right about 40 minutes. I think that's going to do it for us this week. Once again, no show next week. We're going to be off. I'll be down in the Carolinas. I'll be thinking of everyone fondly from down in the Carolinas, but I am not going to drive back up to New York to do the 31st lap. Wish everybody the best. If you're around this weekend, make sure you get out and support your local racetrack. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you right back here again next week.